There was one condition. One condition that changed everything. And it wasn't about security, it wasn't about travel, it wasn't even about family. It was about cameras. Because somewhere inside the walls of Buckingham Palace, a question started circulating quietly. Why would Prince Harry and Meghan Markle insist on bringing a documentary crew into the most private royal reunion in years? And more importantly, what exactly were they hoping to capture? At first it sounded harmless. A simple return to the UK, a family visit. A chance for reconciliation after years of public fallout, explosive interviews and silence that only made the divide deeper. But behind palace doors, this wasn't being treated like a reunion. It was being treated like a risk. Because according to insiders, Harry and Meghan aren't just returning to Britain, they're reportedly bringing cameras with them. Not photographers. Not press. An actual documentary crew. And suddenly everything changed. The timing alone raised eyebrows. King Charles has reportedly been making quiet efforts to reconnect with his youngest son. After months of health concerns, public appearances growing shorter, and the pressure of legacy hanging heavier than ever, there's been growing speculation that Charles wants peace inside the family. Not for headlines. For history. But then this new detail surfaced. Harry and Meghan allegedly want this reunion documented, filmed, preserved, and maybe released. That's where the tension begins. Because for the royal family, private moments are currency, controlled, protected, guarded at all costs. For Harry and Meghan's, private moments have become public leverage. And Prince William knows that better than anyone. Remember Opera. Remember the Netflix docuseries. Remember Spare. Every private conversation somehow became public material. That history matters now. And according to royal insiders, William's reaction to this latest plan wasn't just frustration. It was disbelief. Because this wasn't just another family visit. This was potentially the first face-to-face royal reunion involving Charles, Harry, Meghan, and possibly the children, in years. A fragile moment. A dangerous one. And now cameras. That's where palace conversations reportedly turned cold. Sources claim King Charles is willing to see Harry. That part has never been the issue. The real battle is over access. What rooms? What conversations? What moments? And most importantly, who controls the narrative afterward? Because if Harry and Meghan are filming this chapter of their lives, as insiders say, then this reunion isn't just personal. It's content. And William reportedly sees that as a line being crossed. But then came the twist. It wasn't just about filming. It was about where they would stay. According to whispers inside royal circles, Harry had hoped for accommodations tied to royal grounds, something symbolic, familiar, secure. But William allegedly pushed back hard. Why? Because in his mind, allowing cameras onto royal property could create a disaster. One leaked clip. One emotional conversation. One unseen family moment turned into a global documentary scene. And suddenly the monarchy isn't managing its image anymore. It's reacting to it. That's the fear. And this is where things get darker. There's now growing talk that strict legal agreements could be demanded before any reunion happens. Non-disclosure conditions. Phone restrictions. No recording zones. Think about that. A prince returning home, being told the rules before he can even enter. That says everything. But Harry's side reportedly sees it differently. To them, documenting this return isn't exploitation. It's transparency. A chance to show the world what really happens behind those gates. A chance to reclaim the narrative after years of being painted as the outsiders. And Meghan. She reportedly supports the decision completely. Which only intensifies William's concern. Because if there's one thing William has protected more aggressively than his public image, it's his family. Especially after everything. Especially Kate. And that's the deeper layer no one's talking about. William doesn't just distrust media exposure. He distrusts Harry's judgment now. That fracture didn't start with cameras. It started years ago. With choices, with interviews, with accusations. And now every reunion comes with conditions. Every conversation carries suspicion. Every invitation feels loaded. King Charles may want peace. But peace under surveillance. That's something else. And palace insiders say there's one possibility no one can ignore. What if this trip isn't really about healing? What if it's about legacy? Harry's Invictus commitments are approaching. Their public profile remains under constant scrutiny. New projects are always in motion. A royal reunion on camera would be historic. Powerful, profitable, and impossible to control once released. That's why William's alleged warning has become so explosive. Not because of what he said, but because of what it reveals. This isn't a family operating on trust anymore. It's operating on caution, protection, defense, and maybe even fear. Because if Harry and Meghan arrive with cameras, and Charles opens the door, what happens next may not stay inside the palace. And for the first time, the monarchy may not get the final edit. And maybe that's what Prince William fears most of all. Not the reunions, but the version of it the world might eventually see.